Simulacrum for game 2 of this weirdest of all the series. It is best of 3. GreyRavon did take the first map. With Xathail continuing to try his best to get into Crimes Against StarCraft. You know, the only appropriate follow-up to I Heard You Liked Bases is to fly a command center in and turn it into a planetary in your opponent's base. It doesn't really work against Zerg. Because of creep, you can't land on the creep, and planetaries don't have that long a range, so you cannot possibly land close enough to this to kill it. That is the problem. Yeah, so the classic, how do you like my base in your base? Yeah, it's not going to work. Not against a Zerg, but and it doesn't look like that's what's happening anyway, because you know, the build order for that, you do need to have an eBay, and well, you need to be building the base already on the other side of the map. You need to be sending the worker across the map to build a command center. Typically, you would build it here, for example, and fly it across, land it, and turn it into a planetary. So you need to start the command center before the Evo. The NG Bay doesn't take that long to build, not as long as a command center, and they fly so very slowly that if you were doing that sort of build, you know, you don't have to have the engineering bay up until the command center lands, which is quite a while. I don't know what this crap is like. What are we doing here? You're trying too hard, Nereus, to get into Crimes Against StarCraft, you know what I mean? Like, it's a barracks. That could actually be a genuine mistake. It is possible, but so GreyRavon taking no chances with a spine crawler at the front door. But yeah, the Overlord's going to come in. It's going to have a look around and see what there is to see. Sees the. I would have quite liked the Overlord to go deeper. I know, like, when you're against Terran, you're like, okay, the Marine can focus it on, but you know that Xathail is going to be doing something weird. You know that it's going to be something cheesy. This queue of 3 Hellions, though, a bit miserable. Anyway, high-sec auto-tracking again being researched in the engineering bay, which is pretty weird. And yeah, maybe GreyRavon going for roaches again. The wall off here, I'm not sure I like it against Terran, to be honest. Against Zerg, 100%. You know, so that you can like have another building here, put a queen in the middle, stop Ling run bys coming in. All for it. Against Terran, not so keen. And the reason for that is Terran pushes tend to be a creep with siege tanks, and if you've got stuff that you don't want to lose at the front door, that stuff can end up being blown to bits. Most of the time Terran aren't doing run-bys, they're not. Although with Hellions, I suppose, to be fair, they can. Anyway, another Overlord Scout is going to happen here, and it's going to come in, it's going to see what is up. Sees the Hellions, so that is a useful scout. But it isn't going to get away on this occasion. But still useful to know that there are Hellions on the map. And you're going to be happy about that because you've got roaches, and roaches just beat Hellions. It's as simple as that. Roaches are very much the answer to Hellions. So yeah, it isn't like there's a Ling army to be had here. Let's take a quick look at the upgrades. There isn't even Ling speed, which I'm not, you know, even if I was going roaches, even if I had no intention to do a Ling heavy build, I'd still get Ling speed. Because you'll always end up with a big gas deficit. You'll always end up with a bunch of minerals. I do actually like the switch into Hellbats rather than Hellions against the roaches. They will fare better. But without medevac support, they are all still going to die. And it was a much, you know, that was too many roaches to stand and fight. You weren't ever going to win that, really. So, yeah, GreyRavon, you know, you should at this point know that you can probably march across the map and win. So I'd like to see GreyRavon be a bit more aggressive, really, a bit more up in her opponent's grill. Yeah, we've got Hydra Den coming in, and yeah, you know, Roach Hydra worked pretty well in the last game. I'd love to see in the mix with the Roach Hydra, you know, although, well, Xathail isn't a standard Terran, but I'd like to see some Infestors for the Fungals, or indeed some Vipers for the Blinding Clouds in the mix, or indeed, you know, the Yank a Tank or whatever. Moves like that, because those are good moves. You don't need very many of them in the mix with your army to really increase the effectiveness of that army. A fungal here, a fungal there is a wonderful thing. Yeah, so GreyRavon's maxed out pretty much. Maxed out 5 bases and is going to push across the map. At this time, Xathail has a reasonable army, but it's the composition that is a lot of Hellbat, and the roaches aren't at the front, and actually stuff that does splash generally does pretty well against Hydras. Hydras are light and they take a lot of damage from splash, but you know, it's a 100 supply Zerg army. It's 116 supply of army. Yeah, the Hellbats with no medevac support either. We're never really going to be able to deal with that particularly effectively. So, does look like GreyRavon is going to be able to essentially A-click for the win here. That is a lot of Hellbats coming out, but why are there no medevacs to support them? And I mean, Hellbats in a stand-up fight, I don't know. They're not good, are they? You know, Hellbats have their uses. They're very useful against Lings. They're very useful against Zealots. They're good against Broodlords because they're very good at killing the Banelings. But I don't even think Blue Flame has been done, has it? You know, you've got an army that's entirely Hellbat, but you haven't like researched the one upgrade for them. So, yeah, it's not good. And it looks like it is going to be a straightforward GG here. GreyRavon is just planting bases. Yeah. Just trolling. So at this point, as GreyRavon, you want to make sure you focus the CC, and you want to make sure none of the workers get out. Because if the CC goes down, then your opponent is revealed, and if no workers can get out, then they cannot build a new one, and so therefore they cannot build anything. But yeah, she already knows where this has landed. It's building 2 Vikings for whatever reason. Yeah, but yeah, there we go. Xathail is indeed revealed, so there cannot be any flying away. And GreyRavon's gone ahead and put a hatchery on literally every single mineral patch on the map, apart from this one where she was unable to build. Oh, it can now though. So yeah, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. That is a relatively straightforward GG. Turns out Hellbats were not the solution that Xathail was looking for. Gonna land over here on the edge of creep. Yeah. Not going to matter, you're revealed, you can't hide this, you know what I mean? You actually can't, you can't, you know? There is no kind of if I'm sneaky and go over here. This isn't enough dead space to be out of the range of the Hydras, I don't think. And now that it's on fire, it is just going to burn down. So that's it, GreyRavon goes 2-0, GG.